Perfect.
Welcome, everyone. And of course, what is today? Well, I mean, I almost would have forgotten it. Some people haven't reminded me. Jeff mentioned it to me again, and I'm going to have my Star Wars nerddom card revoked. Of course, it's May the 4th. I have a whole bunch of friends that went to a marathon at a drive-in tonight. They were seeing Spaceballs marathon. And so may the Schwartz be with you there, you know. But it is May the 4th. It is Star Wars Day. And if you're a fan of Star Wars, and I mean, I grew up with it, so of course I am. And yeah, I hope you all enjoyed your Star Wars Day. Watched a little bit of stuff. I was just watching the new animated series, Tales of the Underworld, I think it was called. I watched like the first 3 or 4 episodes of that. And lo and behold, hold on. Oh, the batteries died.
Oh, no.
My God. I had such an entrance plan anyway. That is my Darth Vader replica lightsaber that I got many, many years ago before they were in. But yeah, the batteries. No, wait, hold on. I have 2 of them. Let me see if the other one's working and I can get a sound effect from this other one, but probably not. If the batteries died in that one, this one. I have Kylo Ren's lightsaber as well. Aha! There you go. One did work. The batteries managed to work in this one. So, yes. It's got the defects when you hit the blade, it makes the noise and stuff like that. I have to get to Disney, guys, because my daughter went, my oldest daughter went, and they built a lightsaber there. So that is the goal. I have to go at some point and do that. They got me this. I'll show you more props. They got me a holocron from there, which there's a little chamber, and you put the little crystals in there. And it plays you like voices from all of the Sith Lords throughout throughout history, Vader, Palpatine, and all those. So I do have that as well. But yes, I am a big Star Wars nerd. So it's celebrate. It's a day to celebrate.
Yeah.
But it's also a day to celebrate because we get to do Between the Ropes, Jeff, and we haven't been here in a while. We love this show. This is like Jeff always says, this is kind of where we started it all, and it's always great to be here and be back with you guys for an episode of this. And man, we have a stacked card tonight. Now, look at that. Jeff went to see Sinners, got a little popcorn bucket action going over there. Told me Sinners is very good. I have to go see it. He's not the first person who said that. He told me in detail about it and said how good it was. So I do need to go and see that film. But
yeah, it was tremendous. There's not a lot that I want to say about it because I don't want to spoil it any more than they already have with the trailers and all the social media advertising. But I'll just say it's an experience, and man, it's just mind blowing. That's really all I can say. And if you don't go into it thinking that you're going to get the stuff that you see on social media in the first 20 minutes, because that's not going to happen. So just know that there's a build to things.
I'm gonna have to go and see it. I have tickets for Thunderbolts. I'm going to see probably tomorrow, if all goes well. And I've heard great things about that too. First Marvel movie that's getting really good Rotten Tomato scores in a long time. So I'm pretty excited about that. Going to see that. So yeah, I gotta gather my Cinemark free points together and start going to see some movies on my days off. So for sure. But yeah. So looks like James Chadwick has some breaking news for us there. Let's see what he's got. Octagon Jr. and Mila Grace are new signings to TNA. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, Octagon Jr. signs with TNA. I've got the little write up here. Crossed the line announcing that he has signed with TNA. Octagon Jr. posted to his Instagram stories to announce that he has signed with the company. As you can see in a screenshot below from WrestlingCovers.com, he's now listed on the company's roster page. He was largely competed in AAA and teamed with Laredo Kid and Chavo Guerrero against First Class and Frankie Kazarian on the 27th episode. He was just on recently, of course, that episode. And then Mila Grace is the other signee. Boy, they need knockouts big time. And Mila Grace, this is her Instagram. I don't know. Jeff, do you know a lot about Mila? I don't know much about Mila Grace.
I don't know a ton about her, just clips and things that I've looked up.
Yeah, me too. Much. Northern Irish professional wrestler, currently working for Dreamstar Fighting Marigold. Let's see. Let's look at her database here. 32 years old, singles wrestler from Belfast, Northern Ireland, 5'3". Singles wrestler. Wow, that's really nasty comments they got on there. Says a Facebook
page. She was
in
NXT UK.
Okay. Oh, nice. Thank you, James. Well, hey, look. Wow, is that her there? Yeah, she's tiny. 5'1". They were listed at 5'1" and 110 pounds. She's very tiny. Yeah, well, look, anytime we get some additions to TNA's roster, it's a great thing. Mm-hmm. And we'll talk a little bit about, sadly, we're going to talk a little bit about the releases, and I'm sure that the speculation will begin as to who some of those people will end up with as far as other companies and things like that, and kind of, who will people want to see and things of that nature. So we'll get into that a little bit too. So, but yeah, we've got a lot of stuff to go over. We've got grievances to do. We've got Sell or No Sell. We've got the news for the week. And yeah, Jeff, let's get it kickstarted, I guess, here, huh?
Yeah, let's go right into the news here.
All right.
Do you have any breaking news other than what James shared with us?
I mean, I think the biggest thing that I saw over the weekend, Jeff, was another one of my very favorite wrestlers that was, and it really wasn't kind of clear because she wasn't listed on the initial set of releases, but that's Shotzi Blackheart.
Yeah.
And I love Shotzi, man. Shotzi is so much fun to watch. I watch her on her YouTube page. She used to do that horror thing with Scarlett, which was a lot of fun. And then most recently, I watched her She does a thing in Disney where she's trying to ride like every ride that she can in a certain amount of time. When she went to Disney, and her husband was kind of driving her around the parking lot so she can get there faster and stuff like that. So she's very entertaining, and I have no doubt Shotzi will end up on her feet, whatever she decides to do. Very, very multi-talented. If she decides to go into stay in wrestling, I'm sure she's going to find a job pretty easily if that's what she wants to do. But she also has other things she can pursue. She seems to love doing the YouTube channel and all that kind of stuff. So maybe she just wants to end up doing stuff like that and just kind of being entertaining. I can see her too, Jeff, with her love of horror, that maybe some horror directors will see her, and we could even maybe end up seeing her in horror films at some point down the line.
To be honest, I'm surprised that it hasn't happened already.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe it has, but yeah, with Shotzi, James is saying
not renewed.
Yeah, her contract was not renewed.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is the case with her, but still you see that. Well, I mean, I guess we can go ahead and get into it, Joe.
Yeah, we could go right into segue
Yeah, we'll just go right into it.
Yep.
This is a huge list of people.
Certainly is.
And but WWE announcing the releases of many talent. So Joe, what were your thoughts, man, when you initially saw the news?
Jeff, the first thing I think of is and we've talked about this before, sadly. It seems like it happens almost every year. And this one hit a lot of people hard because there were, a lot of people in here that people were big fans of. I know that NXT, so many people have been watching a lot of NXT lately, including a lot of TNA fans, getting more eyes on that show. And they've grown to, they saw some of these people very recently in TNA. And there are people up here that we've seen on TV a lot, like Braun Strowman, like Shotzi, who I just mentioned. And you become a fan of these people. And, I know a lot of people were a little disappointed. They kind of they were hoping that Braun might have like a little thing with the Wyatt Six at some point, sometime, or join the Wyatt Six that was rumored for a while. But Jeff, the first thing that comes to my mind is always going to be my thoughts are generally for the wrestlers, not for myself. Because again, I've said this many times before, probably too many to count, but this is a dream. They are living out a dream in their lives. And there's nothing worse than having a dream ripped away from you. Being in the WWE is like, that's like top of the list, right? That's top of the top for anybody, any wrestler that wants it. And I don't care what you say. I'm not trying to diss other companies here or anything like that, but let's face it. Getting to the WWE is the top rung of the ladder. And when you get there, and you're, a lot of these people were doing really well for themselves. And then all of a sudden you get hit with this. The first thing I think about is, my God, that's got to feel horrible. That all of a sudden they're just told, okay, well, thanks for your service, but we don't require it anymore. And look, I've lost 2 jobs in my life, and I know how devastating that is. And some of them, I'm sure, have to restart their life. They may not know much other than wrestling. And sure, there might be a handful from this list who will go to other places. Maybe they'll stay in the indies. Maybe they'll get picked up by a TNA or by an AEW or by someone else, but not all of them will. And so their wrestling dream might be finished, and they might have to look at something else in their lives. And that's really the thing I think of. And I think a lot of people, I don't think they necessarily look at it that way. And I think they may even be a little selfish about it. instead of kind of thinking for these people. And Braun worked his way back from a lot of injuries. We all know what his reaction was when Bray passed away, and how that devastated him and stuff. And of this group, Braun is the elder statesman here, I would think, and he may not find a place to go. Jeff, it's very sad, and it's just part of the wrestling world now. I remember listening to, I haven't recently, but I remember listening to Busted Open last year when it happened, and Bully Ray's trying to kind of bring light to people listening, saying it's not like they can go out and collect unemployment. It's not like they can go out and sign up for medical benefits somewhere because they didn't have it. So it's very difficult. And I try not to get angry, even though there might be a little bit of that. But I try not to get angry. And Jeff, I try to just think about the people that are on that board and where they go next.
Yeah, I mean it sucks, man, because like you mentioned earlier, for a lot of these people, this was always their dream. Growing up, their dream was being in a WWE ring, wrestling as a WWE superstar. And for some, that dream just has to take a little detour, and maybe they end up at another company. But for some, it might be the end of the line in terms of that dream, and then they have to do something different. So it is a difficult situation. I feel bad for everyone that was either released or their contracts were not renewed. And I really do wish them the best and hope to see them succeed at whatever it is that they do next. And again, for some this may be, maybe it's time for me to do something different, something less taxing on the body. Let me go into the more TV entertainment side of things. They have some avenues, which is a good thing. I think sometimes when we look at it, it is very difficult not to be upset because you grow attached to these people. You become accustomed to seeing them on your screen or on social media, and then all of a sudden, especially for some who are in active storylines, you're like, okay, well, now I will not see the payoff to that. As a fan, I've invested my time into that, but more importantly, this person that I really enjoy is no longer there. Uh, how are they going to handle their livelihood? What are they going to do to survive? So I think at times people tend to struggle with not truly understanding that, yes, while this may be a huge inconvenience to you finishing a storyline, ultimately the big picture, the biggest thing is just the folks that they their lives just changed. They matter right now. What's next for them, and supporting them. And if you want to be a fan of them and you can and you're able to do this, if they put out a link to some t-shirt or merch or whatever, buy it. And if you can't buy it, share the link, because that shows true support. But I always, Joe, and I'm going to talk about this a little bit in our grievances. I kind of feel like these things happening, situations like this bring out the worst in some of the wrestling fans
Yeah, it does.
because they make it about the wrong things.
Yep, agreed.
So
It becomes part of tribalism, and it should not.
it shouldn't be at all. Like
And
it just shouldn't be.
it does, and you know what? It also, like, I get it. Look, we're all in any sports that you watch. We tend to be armchair general managers.
Mm-hmm.
That's with our favorite sports team of any kind.
Mm-hmm.
And this is really not the time to do that. To like right off the bat, just a couple of days later, to say, oh, well, this one's going to go here and this one will end up there. This will, we really don't know that. We really don't know that. We may never see any of them again. And, that kind of sucks. And so, you have to realize, and I think that maybe, Jeff, this is what does this. Like, we as a culture, I think we sometimes look at entertainers and celebrities and things like that are kind of like they're different. They're on a different level of person.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it's because we only see them on a screen. Maybe some of us have never been to a live event, a WWE live event, and it's getting harder and harder. Trust me. It's not like people can afford it.
They ain't making it easy.
Yeah. And so we never really got to see any of these people up close. We see them in a screen, and sometimes that kind of makes them like, well, who cares? It's, and we tend to forget that they're humans, and it's sad. But again, I think people should just take a step back. Now, I'm not talking about the trolls. I'm not talking about the idiots on Twitter that are going to just be idiots, and the ones that made it into tribalism and, oh my God, WWE, oh, they suck. But then they're not thinking of their own favorite companies that did this same damn thing 2 months ago, and maybe it went under the radar, right? So, that's not what this is about. This is about people. This is about human beings. This is not about tribalism in wrestling. This is not about saying, well, they're going to end up here and they're going to end up there, and WWE doesn't want them, so I want AEW to grab them all. That, like a big revenge comment. Like, no, that save that. That's not for. It's not the proper way to react. And it's really just silly. Just like I said, just try to just be human, and just think about it as if as if it happened to you or your family. Many kids growing up and stuff like that, younger people have their parents lose jobs, and think about it that way, because that's really what it is. It's about a family. It's about people who that have to go home in tears and face their significant other, or their boyfriend, girlfriend, or their kids, and whatever it might be, and tell them that I just lost my job, which is not easy. So yeah, that's what it is. Just remember that we can play armchair quarterback. We can predict until we're blue in the face, and who knows, maybe we will see some of them back, and maybe some of them will go to different companies, but I'm sure not all will. And that's really where the saddest part about all of this is. So, but yeah, we'll talk a little bit about more about this a little bit later. But Jeff, I guess we'll move on. Huh?
Yeah, let's go to this one. So had to pull out the old TV for this one.
Yes, of course, fitting.
Blast from the past here, Cena and Orton. But this is good, man. It was good back in the day, and it's good now too. And I'm invested. What about you, Joe?
Yeah, this was good planning on their part, I think. So many people were like, well, where do we go from here? Cena's taking his farewell tour here. Where do we go from here? What's going to be next? on the agenda, obviously, Cody looks like he's taking some time off. So what
Well deserved time off
Oh,
too.
no doubt, no doubt. He he was constantly on the road. He was away from his family. A lot as champions are. They do a lot of press. They do a lot of commercials. They do a lot of that kind of stuff. And so this was almost like perfect booking, because now, I'm not sure how many of you out there or are thinking that Randy is going to take the title off him, but I like the fact that they're making it very interesting that you really don't know. You really don't know. And that's really what it should be. And these guys have bad blood between them. You like that. And I know, like, when Randy first snuck in there and RKO'd him, I was like, all right, okay, this is cool. And of course, this is going to be your main event for Backlash. So, yeah, I like this. And whether it's a one-off for just Backlash and then Cena turns to someone else, but you know what, Jeff, and I know a lot of people didn't envision it necessarily going this way with John, with the heel turn, but this is kind of what I envisioned for his farewell tour.
Yeah.
Is a lot of these old feuds coming back and kind of finalizing some of these old feuds while he's on this trail out. And we don't know how it's going to finish, but yeah, I mean, what more could you ask for as a wrestling fan? Two of the best all time to ever do it, going at each other on a microphone, little bit of physicality in there, but not much. But yeah, I'm excited for this. I think the match is going to be cool. I don't know if we're going to get any like more interference in Cena's matches and stuff like that. But yeah, this has been really, really good. And obviously, Randy going off on his little tirade the other night, yesterday on SmackDown, was just great. Two of the best on the mic, Jeff.
Yeah, and also think about what it means for Orton. And I think this is what makes it fascinating too. If Orton wins, that gets him to 15, which is not very far away from Cena.
Yeah.
And then you start thinking, well, how many more times could Orton win the title before he's done? Could he be the one to take Cena's record? Those are the kinds of things that make this very interesting. But I agree. I think we'll see a lot of this, a lot of people from Cena's past. I think over the next several months. So I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I agree. And Matt, you remember, Jeff, how for as long as we've been doing this show, Backlash was always kind of a like meh.
Throwaway.
Yeah, it was. It was like, who cares? Like, remember how they used to repeat WrestleMania matches on there all the time?
Yeah.
It was one of the worst shows to watch. It was boring, and and they're really trying to make it better. And yeah, I think this is, until we find out more of what's going on, and of course we're already hearing, no Roman Reigns until probably June. Obviously, like I said earlier, Cody's out till who knows when. We haven't seen Punk, so this is good, and just kind of seeing him, with these surprise people coming out and challenging him, I think is pretty cool, and well done. So I think it's Backlash is going to be a fun night.
Yeah, I agree. I think how do you take a pay-per-view that's been seen as a throwaway?
Yep.
And make it relevant. You put a match like this on it.
100%.
And, you can say what you will about what you think the outcome will be, but you can't say it hasn't been entertaining.
Yep. And Cena made it a little personal too, calling out Randy's lineage.
Yeah.
He's going to bury the Orton lineage. I'm like, oh man.
Yeah. He went there.
He did. He did. Yeah, but it's going to be fun. And we only have one more week to go. I think it's next weekend. Yeah.
It's next weekend.
Yeah. So one more week to go before it's all said and done. And again, Jeff, who knows if they don't have anything in between, maybe we get a rematch and maybe this will continue. and we'll get another match between these two at another pay-per-view somewhere down the road. So, yeah, we'll see how it goes. But yeah, it's been good. It's been really good.
Yeah, I agree. All right, man. Up next, I hadn't had a chance to talk about this. The newest Paul Heyman guys.
Yeah, man. Jeff brought up that comment the other night on TNA on our watch along about just how good Seth Rollins is. And maybe we just aren't showing him enough respect for what he's done over the years. We're quick to jump on. Obviously, the stuff that Roman Reigns has done was phenomenal in that reign he had, and we're quick to kind of jump on all that. But Seth Rollins is just such a damn good bad guy. And he did the whole year where he was a good guy the entire time, and he did that well too. But this whole thing with Paul Heyman in charge, I mean, and I know everybody's always saying, well, who's going to be next? Who's going to be next? Who's going to be? Personally, I don't think they need anyone else. I think they're fine. I think that triplicate here, and maybe you bring in a woman if you want to do something like that. Maybe you bring in a woman's wrestler to kind of complete it. Some are saying Becky, if they brought Becky Lynch in, because obviously Becky turned bad. But they are just, I mean, look what they did to poor Sammy, and they're brutal, Jeff. They did,
Vicious.
Oh my God. They are pulling no punches. And you know what though, too, Jeff, this is classic Paul Heyman. This is like ECW. I don't give it.
This is all the way back to WCW, Dangerous Alliance.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, this is this is just like, I don't give a damn what you do. People are begging Heyman to stop it and stuff like that. Heyman ain't gonna stop anything. He wants to see this kind of stuff. So, and Braun Breaker was an amazing choice here, because you kind of really didn't know where Braun was going to be. He was kind of going good, then he was heel, then he was good, then you didn't really know where he was going to fit in. But oh man, this is that, and like I said, they're fine as as the trio for now. I don't think they have to go any further with it if they don't want to for the foreseeable future. If they do want to bring someone else in, there's any number of people they could do. But yeah, Jeff, anything Paul Heyman touches turns to gold. It's just,
I mean,
it doesn't matter what it is. It really doesn't.
Yeah, he is so amazing at knowing exactly who he is and who he wants to portray.
Yep.
On screen. It is amazing to watch. And you see, and I'm sure this is happening backstage, but you think about the information share between the three of these folks. You've got Heyman, who's been doing it forever. You've got Seth, who's been doing it quite a while now, but he can get that information for that next part of his career from Heyman. Then you think about Seth sharing information with Braun, and I'm not talking about as characters, I'm just talking about as people in the business going to that next level. And this is tremendous. And if they decide to add someone, that's cool. I'd love to see it be a woman. I was gonna ask you, Joe, if you added a woman to the mix, who would it be? And I was gonna say excluding Becky.
Okay.
Can't pick Becky. Who would you pick?
Right now, and I've always liked her, Jeff, even when she was in TNA. I would throw Naomi in there, man. I like what Naomi's doing as a heel right now. I would. Naomi was always somebody to me that WWE never really gave much to, but I like what she's doing. I think that she's very vindictive. very dangerous. And yeah, she's the first one that comes to mind, but I'm sure that there's probably others that are out there. You could look maybe at some people in NXT that you might bring up from NXT. So there's plenty of names out there, but I think Naomi. What about you?
I'm thinking if you add a woman to it, although this wouldn't be fair, but hear me out, Nia Jax.
I was thinking Nia as well. Yeah, Nia crossed my mind for a second. Yep.
And I think to give her someone like Paul Heyman takes her status in the division to a different place automatically, just off the jump. But then it allows her to really get into a role, and you see that a little bit with Braun already, where he's really getting into this role. He's become a lot more ruthless, and I think the same could happen for her. And that's another name I wanted to say, Derek. I just don't think she's ready to go to the main roster yet. I don't think they want her to go there yet, but I think if this is still around when she does get called up, Jordan Grace would be perfect.
Yep.
Barry Monkey saying Bianca. That's not bad either. I like that.
Bianca could use a switch, and we're seeing little hints of it. We're seeing little hints of it. Jeff, you know what I'm wondering about this faction is what we got Jey Uso on that show. When are one of them going to go after that title, and who is it going to be? Mm-hmm. Is it going to be Seth? Is it going to be Braun Breaker? Mm-hmm. So that's interesting too. And you know what? I get it that we were just talking about Cena, but oh my gosh, what if we're completely off base? And what if we're all thinking face versus heel versus face? Got to be Punk, got to be Cody that takes that title. What if it's someone in this faction that takes out John Cena?
Yeah.
So it's very interesting. And maybe we're thinking about this all the wrong way. And you're just thinking it's going to be a redemption angle, and that someone's going to take that back off of him that has to be a face. Maybe not. Maybe not. So Bayley's a good pick too, because especially what happened to her, and then that little storyline they did there, she could be very, very vindictive coming back. And Bayley's always been kind of a schemer. So I could see that. I could absolutely see that too. That's a good call. Mm-hmm. But this is fun, man. I love Jeff, and I've said this to you when TNA kind of started it a couple of years ago. I love factions. Yes. I love them. I love them in wrestling. I can't say it enough. I love factions because it gives wrestlers that may not have the spotlight a chance to always be on that camera. And in this case, it's Braun Breaker, right? He was having his Intercontinental title matches and stuff like that. So he's been on TV a good bit. But now he's guaranteed he's on every single week. Yep. And he's like the enforcer of the group. So, yeah, I love it.
And to Derek's point, his comparison, he said this was like a modern-day evolution.
It's very true.
I look at Braun as the Randy Orton.
Yep.
The young Randy Orton.
Yep.
And 10 years from now, you're going to be like, yeah, this group, that was like, he was good before that.
Yep.
He was great before that. But this was the point where he went from being a great guy that happens to be in the main event to a main eventer.
Yep.
So.
Yep. And remember how many people were already talking about Paul Heyman possibly being done. And Paul's in the tail end of it. Paul could last another 10, 15 years if he really wants to in wrestling. Because like I said, he's just amazing what he does. So yeah, this has been great. And again, kudos Raw is they need to figure out SmackDown a little bit. I think now again, whether they're going to cut it back. I know they're supposed to cut it back to 2 hours again soon. I don't know if they're going to have a draft. We haven't really heard anything about it, but I think SmackDown needs a little kick in the pants because Raw has been a much better show to watch. So it does seem like they need to move things around maybe a little bit with some of the other people. But yeah, this has been tremendous.
Yeah, it really has.
Yep.
All right, man. We'll go to something else that was tremendous.
Oh my gosh.
Desperately needed by TNA, but Indy Hartwell joins TNA. She has crossed the line.
Yes. This is a huge signing. I was hoping, and in fact, I know I mentioned her name a bunch of times on our Thursday shows, and I was really hoping that she would end up in TNA because I have enjoyed her work when they were doing the stuff with NXT, when they were doing the Halloween Havoc stuff, when they were doing they did that paintball thing with her. She's just really entertaining and a very, very good wrestler. And I think she fits TNA very, very well. And like Jeff said, TNA needs that help right now in their knockouts division. They took a lot of hits. When you lose a Jordan Grace, when and others that they've lost in the past, Deonna Purrazzo gone, Taya Valkyrie gone. The people who have been injured that have been out. Killer Kelly. I know I'm going to forget a bunch, but they need a shot in that women's division. And I'll tell you, I can see someone like Indy Hartwell being that person who might be the one to rise up to the top, especially after the bit of a surprise, because I had thought for sure the way they were going, and I wasn't happy about it, was that they were going to give Tessa that title.
Yeah,
they did not.
I knew that you thought that you believed it
for sure,
especially doing it now.
Yep, 100%. I thought 100% she was going to take that title, and they swerved it and they went a different way, and I'm glad that they did. But yeah, man, I've liked Indy from the time that they hold that. You had that Dexter Loomis thing with her and Indy Dex or whatever that was called.
Index.
Very, very talented, and I think she's going to be great. We don't know a lot of times how long these wrestlers will stick around, but Jeff, I could see her for sure end up being a contender for that Knockouts title at some point soon.
Absolutely. I don't doubt that at all. And again, this was much needed.
Mm-hmm.
This also happened on the same day that we found out about Savannah Evans being a free agent. So this was much needed, and hopefully they will pick up some of the women and men that were released from WWE, because they really need to bolster their roster, especially if they're going to have TNA folks going to do NXT stuff. They need to have people that can kind of come in. And how cool would it be to have some of the people that have been involved in some of the TNA NXT crossover to be on the TNA side now? Because we've seen Jakara Jackson on TNA. Yep. We've seen Cora Jade. So we've seen Gigi Dolan. There are ways to do this, but, hopefully that's a landing spot for these folks, because I think if they're looking to continue to wrestle, TNA is an option. And if TNA is looking to continue to add talent and overcome some of the losses that they've had, they've got to look seriously at signing some of these folks.
Yeah, 100%. And like you were saying, Jeff, I don't think they're done. I think they will get. Now, again, we're probably going to have that whole. Now, I don't know, because you never know about this. When they do these releases, I think it's 90 days for most of them that they have to wait.
NXT is 30.
NXT's only 30. Okay, well, there you
Mhm.
go. So then you could see a lot of the people in from NXT going somewhere
Mhm.
faster. And Jeff, it'd be crazy for TNA not to take a look at them when a lot of them were on their show.
Right.
I mean, silly at that
Right.
point not to take a look at those people because they were doing so well when they were there. And you know what, Jeff, I wonder, these little things, you know, rotate around in my old mind. But I wonder, you know, were they almost given, like, if they want to look at it like this, like a tryout in a way?
Mm-hmm.
If somebody had known backstage, thinking that, you know what, we're not so sure about their future, let's have them go and be and play over on TNA for a while and be on TNA for a little bit. Because I don't know, I don't believe in coincidences a lot of the times. And especially that we saw a lot of these women on TNA recently. So yeah, they'd be silly not to do that. And especially where their women's division is right now, because that will always be the bread and butter of TNA.
Mm-hmm.
Will always be. And I know Gail's not there anymore, which is sad. But yeah, that they're very proud of that. And so, yeah, I'm excited. We need to get the women's division back to where it belongs. And that's like right up there with the best of them in pro wrestling. So yeah, Indy's gonna kill it.
Yep. I agree.
All right, my friend, moving on.
Well, up next, TNA also has another problem. Well, in particular, Joe Hendry does, and that's Trick Williams. Joe, he's made his presence felt. So, how much trouble do you think the TNA champ is in?
Well, I don't know, man. If you would have put if you would have told me that the middle of this year we'd be having Trick and Joe Hendry going at it, I probably would have told you were crazy. But yeah, this is Joe Hendry's in a little trouble here, and Trick is not one to mess around with. He showed us what he could do in NXT. So this is going to be very interesting, and how this is going to go. And Trick is getting the better of Joe Hendry. So Joe is starting to learn what it's like to be a champion and have eyes in the back of your head and to trust no one because everybody wants what you've got. And so, Joe being a first-time champ, this is the things that you have to learn. And, Joe went over and kind of fired his shot when he went to NXT. But then, did he expect a retaliation a couple of days later in his own show or in his own backyard? And now he's got to have eyes behind his head because this could happen anywhere. So I'm sure, Jeff, this is leading to a match. We're gonna end up getting a match here at some point. Probably going to end up being for Joe's title. And look, at this point, everybody keeps saying, who's going to be the first? Who's going to be the one that's going to grab the title away from one of the people on the other show? I'll tell you, I as big of a fan as I am of Joe, Joe's a little beat up. I know he's cleared now, but he's a little bit beat up with the injury and all that kind of stuff. And he's run up against one of the best in NXT. And so, Joe really has to look out for himself here. But this is going to be, when it does happen and how it happens, this is going to be a great match between these two young guys who are building blocks of the future of both of these companies. And at one point, Jeff, they may both be in the same company and on the main roster of WWE, and they may end up fighting there again somewhere down the road. But I'll tell you, you're always asking me how nervous are you? Are you, are you a little worried about Joe and his title? Yeah, this one was completely unexpected, and making me certainly more than a little bit nervous about where this goes.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is going to be good stuff.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. I gotta read Bonus Baby's prediction here because this is pretty good. It says my prediction is Joe drops the belt to Trick. Trick gets drafted to SmackDown as the TNA champ. Joe challenges on SmackDown and Carmelo helps Trick retain.
Hmm.
Joe wins the strap back at Slammiversary in New York.
Okay. I like that. I like that. I think that's kind of cool. I dig that. Yeah.
Yeah,
All right. Very interesting. I think that's great. I mean, that's going to be a huge Slammiversary Live is going to be huge. So they're going to
yeah,
want something big for that match or for that card. So yeah,
yeah,
that'd be huge.
yeah,
Mark has Joe and Jeffrey hit on something. You said that the partnership with WWE and TNA are like tryouts. What I'm getting at is this: everyone says a Trick is heading to the main roster, but what if not? What a Trick is just trying out for TNA. I know it's far out, but I'm just putting it out there. Well, I didn't mean to make it sound. Tryouts may have not been the best word, but I think that if they know that some people are going to be that if they had it in their head, right, that maybe, and I could be way off base, they may not have, but if they had it in their minds of some people who they thought might not be a fit going forward, or something along those lines, and then all of a sudden, then they give them they give them space to go over to TNA and do some stuff over there. So it's yeah, who knows, man?
I
It's very interesting.
I would say instead of tryout, look at it as a litmus test. And what I mean by that is
Jeff, excuse me for 1 second.
okay,
I'll be right back.
okay, no problem. So look at it as a litmus test. And essentially, let's look at Trick Williams, for example. Look at the pops he's gotten while he's been at TNA. That shows that whatever they're doing with Trick Williams in NXT is working because he has mass appeal. He's getting over with crowds that don't normally see him. But then you could also look at it as the reverse. You can look at it as, what if we send these folks over to TNA? If there's no reaction, maybe they get a pop the first time, but that second or third time that they're there, do they get that same type of reaction? If not, maybe this experiment is not working out. I think that's kind of where it lands. Maybe not a tryout in a way, but and I think it works in the reverse. We got to be honest. WWE is WWE, so if they see talent in TNA, i.e., Joe Hendry, and he's just blowing the roof off of places and just popping crowds every town that they go to, they're going to notice. They're going to take interest. They're going to most likely sign that person. So there's a little bit of give and take, probably more give than take. Who knows? But things like that happen in these situations. But I think the thing for TNA at this point is just they've got to continue to sign talent that's available,
Yeah.
and known talent too, and not just known talent on television, but known talent on the independent scene. So,
Yep.
um, yeah,
Yep. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Joe wins the title back at Slammiversary in a King of the Mountain match, with the participants being Trick, Joe, Santana, Ali, Miz, and Moose. Don't
mm,
forget about Frankie Kazarian too.
he's still lurking.
He is. He still has that, and what a better way than if he has a knockdown, drag out fight with Trick
Yep.
to sneak in there and take that title. So
Yeah. Maybe
yeah,
Frankie comes in and surprises everybody.
yep, very true, very true.
Yep.
That
All
damn
right.
Frankie.
Yeah. We've got one more
Oh boy,
news
James
topic.
Chadwick's favorite topic tonight.
And I feel bad for our friend James Chadwick. But TNA has a new policy. I'm just gonna put it up there.
I can go
But
over
yeah,
it quick here if you want me
yeah,
to.
yeah, that's cool.
TNA officials informed the locker room today that going forth, excessive blood and blading will not be permissible by the promotion. The last match for now that will feature any excessive blood from the promotion will be a dog collar match between TNA International Champion Steve Macklin and Eric Young, which was taped on 5/1 in Irvine, California. Poor Macklin's got to be the last one to bleed all over the place. It's almost fitting. The edict was made official earlier today during a talent meeting. In the case of hard-way blood or something like a bloody nose or mouth, blood will be allowed. And it was noted, it's understandable that sometimes blood will be a result of contact in the ring, but purposeful, heavy bloodletting is a thing of the past in the promotion. Decision was made in order to protect the health of talent, as well as keeping current and potential advertisers and partners in mind. And James is booing all up a storm in the chat. So yeah, look, I'm not surprised, Jeff. They were kind of cutting this down a little bit anyway.
Yeah,
Now, the Sammy Callahan thing was a massacre. Of course, we figured it would be with Mance. So, but they were kind of cutting this back. And look, I mean, I gotta shout out Macklin as one that I can remember, and I don't think I'll ever forget it, because when we saw that match where Macklin was literally like almost spouting blood onto the mat, and the fact that there was just pools of it and pools of it that were all around the ring whenever he would step, I'd imagine, and Jeff, you could speak to this better than I can, but I'd imagine that he would have had to get an IV or something after that. I
oh
would
yeah,
imagine, yeah, because you lose that much blood, you're faint, you don't feel well, so I get this. Did I enjoy a lot of those matches? Yes. I mean, a lot of those matches were fun to watch. But on the other hand, and of course, Jeff is going to be able to speak to this much better than I could. But in a lot of ways, it is, you can have things happen to wrestlers where maybe they have some kind of a blood disease going on that nobody knows about. Maybe they're not eating well and they were sick and they had low blood sugar, something. And then they go and do something like this. And then the next thing you know, you have something bad. So I don't know. To me, look, there's places for this if you really, really are into it. There's GCW that loves to do this kind of thing, and so it's out there. A lot of the indies are still going to probably do it, but I would not be surprised at all if you end up seeing less and less of this. We're already seeing next to none of it in WWE. Next to none. You just don't see it at all. And so I think, Jeff, that this is going to be more common. Sorry, James, but I think this is just going to be a more common thing for the companies to make sure that their talent stays safe. And yeah, James just said, joking aside, the health and safety of the wrestlers comes first. Yeah, I think that that a lot of this stuff, unfortunately, with the exception of a couple promotions here and there, is probably going to be not really done much anymore. So,
yeah.
but Jeff, like I said, you could speak to this a lot better than I can, especially from like wrestler standpoints too, and their health.
I won't get into all of the ways that it's done because people are smart and they're hip to the business these days and they know how certain things are done and when they're done in matches and all that. So I won't get into all of that. But what I will say is this: sometimes you have to protect the artist from the art that they're trying to create. And I think about someone like Abdullah the Butcher, and you look at him right now, and you look at his head, or you look at someone like Ric Flair, you look at the scars and marks on his head. You think about all the bloodborne illnesses and all these things that are out there, all these different things you can catch by the mats not being cleaned properly. And I'm just so many different variables, and it just comes down to health and safety. I think it makes sense. I think we can look at other places that do more of this style of wrestling. I think that's why they exist, and that's great. But I don't think it's necessarily needed, especially when you're just trying to go for like a wow factor or I just want to get a viral moment. Things are different nowadays. So again, people aren't waiting for weeks to get a magazine and see Ric Flair or Dusty Rhodes or Harley Race on the front cover of a magazine with a crimson mask. That's now for viral clips and images on social media. So it's different now.
My God, Jeff, look at guys like Sabu with
Yeah.
the scars like
Yeah.
all over himself.
I mean, heck, you even think about Sandman.
Oh my
He had
God,
color before he even stepped into the ring
he
because he was
did.
smashing the bottle.
Yeah, smashing the bottle off his head.
Yeah.
Barbed wire everywhere. Like Jeff was talking about the crimson. That kind of stuff would always be the sellers of those magazines, PWI and the other magazines that were out. That was always the big seller. You put that on the cover, and you see them dripping with blood, and it was just a big. Jimmy Superfly Snuka was another one who bled all the time. You know, it was just big. But
Terry
look,
Funk, Mick Foley, Cactus
Mick
Jack.
Foley, yeah. I mean, Terry Funk, guys like that, while obviously you pay your tributes to them and all the stuff they went through with all of that back in the day, because that's what wrestling was. And now it's changing, and like Jeff was saying, there are bloodborne illnesses. There are things that you need to worry about now that weren't around back then. And so you like Jeff mentioned too, you'll still be able to find this. You'll still be able to get it in certain places. So for those of you that enjoy it, I'm sure there's still plenty of promotions out there that you can watch, that you can see it. But I do agree that we're in an era and a time now that's just different. And like it or not, these companies have an investment, and they invest in the wrestlers, and so they've got to protect their investments. That's what it comes down to. So yep. Well, there you go.
All right.
Good stuff. I think we are done with the news.
Yeah, so you know what time that is.
Yes, sir. Let's hear it, man. It's been a while since we've done some grievances, so got to play the clip, man.
You know what? Let me shut up and play the clip.
There we go.
That's why folks are here, right? Here we go.
The airing of grievances. I got a lot of problems with you people. Now, you're going to hear about it.
Oh, man, gotta love it. Gotta love hearing Jerry Stiller. All right, so I've got a couple this week, and it's kind of a two-parter. I'm not going to go into too much detail on the one part because I kind of got that a little bit out of the way. But let me, I'm going to go into that, and then I'm going to pass the baton off to Jeff to finish us off. All right. So my first one obviously is about releases. Again, I'm going to delve into that again a little bit here. And really just two subjects in this that I want to cover. Number one is the and you know, my God, it always seems like when we're doing this segment, we go after and we turn to social media, right? Because of how awful it can be and how awful it is in times like this. But what I'm going to focus on with it is because we talked about that already. I'm going to just focus a little bit on timing with it. I think that look, there's no good times to do this, right? There's no good times to make an announcement about this. But here's what I would say to all the companies, and WWE obviously gets a lot of flack for this, and you know, well deserved sometimes. But what I would say, you know, you don't have wrestling every day of the week, although sometimes it feels like you do. But you know, Mondays is Raw, obviously Friday is SmackDown, Tuesday is NXT. If I were WWE, I would announce these things on a Wednesday, and not have it right before a show is coming on, because it almost to me feels like a eulogy at that point. And to me, you're gonna ruin that show for you know, all the people who are feeling bad. You know, and to me, it also kind of does a disservice in a way to the wrestlers themselves, and it doesn't feel very respectful to me. When you're, you know, and I don't know, I could see this being done in the Vinnie Mac era, where he just didn't give a damn, and he was always of the mindset, well, the show's got to go on, you know, no matter what. But Triple H, you know, seems to be a little more of a caring individual. Now I don't know what he's like backstage. I could be way off base, but to me, at least that's what the wrestlers seem to sound like when they talk about him. And you know, I think, and I don't know, maybe it has to be done on certain dates to fulfill certain things in a business. Maybe that's just how it is. But if I were them, I would make these announcements public on a day like a Wednesday when there's nothing going on in your company. Or maybe a Saturday or a Sunday, like on a weekend. And that's when I would do it. Because in this way, like I said, I went into Raw and it was kind of like, you know, I couldn't get into it. All I was thinking about was this, and it was like, it kind of ruined it for me. And I'm sure it kind of ruins it for the wrestlers and stuff too. Having to go out there, do a live show, knowing that your friends are now gone. I know it's part of the business. But that's, to me, it's maybe a minor thing, but I think it just would be better, I think, if you didn't do it before you have a major show or right around the time of a major show. So that's my first one. The second one I'm going to go into a little bit here, and I saw this on social media, and I saw it come out. And of course, again, you know, you're going to have this, and this came out shortly after the roster cuts. And the topic of the article, and I don't even know who read it. I didn't really read through it because I knew I kind of wanted to talk about it. But it has, since WrestleMania, has the Triple H era kind of lost a little bit of luster. Is the shine not so shiny on the crown? Now look, as time passes, right, we knew that you know, it would be very easy to fix. Usually when you're coming in and things are really bad, right, it's very easy to make yourself look really good, because things were just so bad that when you come in and you're changing things around, you know, you're making all the right decisions because your predecessor was making all the wrong ones. and you had a very happy locker room, and a lot of things were just changing for the better. But when I saw this, I kind of just sat back and I started thinking to myself, listen, I went into WrestleMania with the attitude that I was not going to be as wowed as I was for the WrestleMania from last year. I went into it with that. So I didn't get that disappointed with WrestleMania, knowing that the whole big buildup we got to Cody's story and to everything else that happened there. I knew that this one was not going to live up to that. I knew it. So it wasn't WrestleMania that did it for me, but I'm being honest. Raw and SmackDown, and to me, SmackDown is kind of at the point where it's kind of it's a little lackluster to me, and that's kind of why I was saying that I think they really do need to move around some talent. Bring up some talent from NXT, move around some things. Now they did, now Aleister Black is on the show now, which is pretty cool. We got a very good match with him and The Miz, which was very good. But I think that the shine has come off, and I'm not saying it's time to panic. I'm not saying it's time to, oh God, here we go. But I do not think that it's ever going to get as bad as things were with Vince being backstage because of just all the just gross and stuff and all the things he was doing. That you're certainly not going to get from Triple H. I should hope not. I don't think so. So I don't think it's going to get quite that rocky again. And so many people had predicted that maybe Brock Lesnar was going to show up with the Heyman thing and all that kind of stuff, and that would have been like kind of been icky to me if it did. And that would have kind of led me to think, oh boy, this is not really what I want to see. But we do have some things coming up, right? Where a lot of people are saying, and Jeff and I talked about this, but a lot of people are saying, and Jeff had mentioned, like, what if we're going to see Pat McAfee going up against Gunther, right? What if that ends with a return of Goldberg, right? And then now you're kind of starting to see a little bit of like, we're kind of going back to the, and then, maybe it's a one-off and it's Goldberg's last match that they kind of talked about, right? That they were going to do. So it's not like we didn't know about that. But I think that it has the crown has gotten, it's not, the gold is still shiny, but it's got a little dull in some places. And I think I'm not, like I said, I'm not saying it's time to push that emergency button, the panic button, but I do think that they have to start thinking about some changes. Now, where the changes are going to take place, I don't know. We've got some changes in champions, and some are surprises to me. I honestly didn't think Tiffany Stratton was walking out of there with the title. I didn't. I thought for sure that oh my God, that Charlotte was going to walk out with it. That would have been a Vince move, and that didn't happen. So kudos for that. But I want to see some different things going on. I want to see some different matchups happening, right? Now we got the Nia Jax and Tiffy thing again. We're starting to see a little bit of repetitiveness again happening. And I don't want to see it go back to that, especially when you've got all that talent that you have at your fingertips with NXT and people like that, where you can put them in and stuff like that. Some may even say, looking at this, that Aleister Black coming back, while it's very cool, I love Aleister Black, and also Rusev coming back, are kind of, they're people that Vince had in before. And people that were here before, and what is going to make that different this time, right? So look, again, I'm not pushing any panic buttons. I'm not saying that, oh God, here we go. What I'm saying is that there may be a little bit of luster that's losing, that's coming off that crown, and I think they need to really look at these upcoming pay-per-views. Backlash. What's the other one coming up for the one that's coming up for the ladder matches and all that kind of
Money in the Bank.
Money in the Bank. Thank you. That's coming up. Things like that, and I want to see them make some changes, infiltrate some new people instead of all the same people that it seems like we've been seeing. Now Cody's going to be out for a while. We mentioned that, so it's not him. But and even the thing with Cena, where I'm loving the Orton interactions right now and stuff like that. But how are you going to change that up? How are you going to make that different from Cena just being old, miserable, frowny face Cena now for the next 5 or 6 months? How are you going to change that up? So there you go. Again, the last one there really wasn't a big grievance, but more of a warning. And I could see that some of the people in the chat agree with me. So that's it. I'm done. That's it for me. Jeff, the floor is yours. Got you muted, bud.
Mine isn't necessarily a wrestling grievance per se, but it certainly applies to wrestling. And this is just based on a lot of things I've seen on social media over the last forever, basically, over the last years, but especially in the last couple months. I notice on just about every single post, it can be about anything. It can be the most positive thing in the world. And just about on every single post, there's some type of negativity. There's some type of negative attack that's just disgusting and distasteful and so many things. And I just ask myself, why? Like, why is it that way? Or how did we get to this point where someone is celebrating something in their life and you get a person that makes a nasty comment about an outfit that they had on or how someone looked in a photo? Then we get the flip side to that, and let's now go into sports. And I'm not here to talk about who my GOAT is, because my opinion on that doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things when it comes to who's the GOAT in the NBA. A lot of people are going to say Michael Jordan. A lot of people are going to say LeBron. Some people are going to say Kobe. People have their opinions. Doesn't matter. All I know is I'm watching a 40-year-old dude do things that a lot of 20-year-olds can't do. That's impressive to me. Did he have something to do with his son getting drafted onto his team? Probably. But if I had that type of pull and my kid was up and coming in the sport and he was in the draft, I'm pulling those strings too, because that's what you do for your kid. So I just don't get all of the hate. I don't get all of the unnecessary negativity. And then the last thing that I'll say as it relates to wrestling is a lot of this stuff with the TNA WWE partnership. And, there are conspiracy theories floating around out there that TNA is all of a sudden acting real WWE-ish, or they're setting up dominoes for this to happen, or you notice how WWE is getting rid of all of this talent, and then that talent is showing up on TNA, and it's like they're trying to take over from within. All these conspiracy theories. if somehow, some way WWE is playing the long game and plotting the demise of TNA wrestling, then you know what? Yeah, it's sinister and it's disgusting. But I get that people don't like WWE, but I don't think everything is some type of power play or con job or whatever you want to characterize it as. I think that TNA is, I mean, as much as I don't agree with some of the moves, they're making moves that they want to make for the long term future of their company. And do I like all of them? No, but I'm not a stakeholder in terms of financial. I don't produce any content for them, so they're going to do what they want to do for their business. And sometimes that's going to not ruffle any feathers at all, and it's going to be great. And then other times, it's going to ruffle some feathers, and that'll be okay too, because ultimately people will get over it or get through it. One of my favorite sayings I've heard is build a bridge and get over it, because I mean, there's really nothing we can do to change it. So, yeah, those are my grievances. I just think sometimes people, as nicely as I can put this, I think people overestimate the power of their opinion and underestimate the damage of what their words can do to others. So I'm done.
Yeah, words hurt, dude. That's a thing my grandmother and grandparents taught me back in the day. I always used to say that. So, yeah, great stuff, man. Great stuff. I couldn't agree more. And yeah, you know, it's there's been some questionable things going on, and I think maybe that can kind of sum it up, right? Like there's been questionable things going on a little bit in some of the wrestling companies that, you know, we're not always going to agree with, and a lot of people, you know, which really kind of gets to me sometimes, but a lot of people think we're like just big fanboys, and that's not always true. We try to keep it as even keel as we can and as honest as we can, because nobody's perfect. You can, yeah. I mean, everybody is, you know, we see mistakes being made. We're going to call it out, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who does it. So,
and it doesn't even necessarily have to be a mistake. It can just be something we disagree with.
Very true.
And you know, if we don't agree with it, just like the stuff with Ali. I mean, I've said numerous times how I feel about that storyline. You know what? They're gonna keep doing it.
Yep.
Every time they do it, I'm probably gonna say something about it. Not to be annoying, but because, you know, that's just what I believe. So yeah, I mean, it happens.
100%. All right, guys. Well, there you go. There is our this week's edition of Airing of Grievances. So we are going to move on, and we're going to go to the Sell or No Sell segment of the show. You guys know how this works.
Oh yeah.
Basically, we're going to give you a topic. We're going to discuss the topic. We're going to sell it. We're going to no sell it. You play along, and then when we get to the third one, that is a viewer's choice. So you guys are going to throw them out after the number 2 or kind of during that time. And then we'll put them on the spinning wheel that we have, the little spinning wheel prop that we've got. And we'll fill them in. And then we'll pick one of yours. And we will do that as our third sell or no sell. So, Jeff.
I forgot to clean this thing off. So I'm gonna it's still got topics from the last time we did it.
There you go.
So
been a
it's
while.
not going to dry erase. So I have to get a rag now to wipe this down.
I gotta get a little hand sanitizer.
Yep,
Throw that
but
on
I
there.
got it. I got it.
There
So
you
we're
go.
good to go. But I will say this. I'm gonna tease this one. The second topic should get a lot of discussion out of our chat. That's all I'm gonna say.
All righty.
Because it has something. It's a retro.
It is a retro one.
Question.
Yeah.
And I want some class participation on this one, folks. So
yeah, that was gonna be an interesting one then.
Yeah, so if you're a fan of wrestling and you've been a fan of wrestling since we'll say the 90s for this week's question, stick around because in a couple minutes we're gonna maybe ruffle some feathers. Who knows? But
we're gonna create a little controversy in the sell or no sell thing.
Yeah, create a little controversy.
Why not? Big Dan, what's up, Big Dan?
All right, so here we go. First topic, Joe.
All right.
Speaking of Cody Rhodes here, I'll expand this. So Cody Rhodes should be the one to defeat John Cena, Joe. Sell or no sell?
Oh, man. This is a great question now. Probably before WrestleMania, I would have gone sell with this, no doubt. Now I'm kind of starting not to think this way. I just think that there's other things that are arising that maybe seem to be a better fit right now. And for a couple of reasons, and most of it because I still kind of think Cody is going to take a little bit of a break again. I also think that Cody is going to, I think, have to come back a little different. Now, and I'm not saying he's going to come back a heel, but I'm thinking he's going to come back a little more of an edge to him. And so I think Cena, the thing with Cena is going to change him a little bit. Do I know who it should be right now? Maybe not. Could it be unorthodox? Like we talked about earlier, where it could be Seth Rollins or Braun Breaker and somebody in Heyman's faction, could be heel on heel. And that would actually kind of fit perfectly with it. See, my whole thing, guys, is this, and this is perfect for Star Wars Day. My whole thing of how this is going to end, and we'll see if I'm right. Cena's going to turn back to face before he leaves. I think everybody's pretty convinced of that, and be shocked if he didn't. However, I think what's going to happen is the person who he is going up against is going to be getting beat up by someone else. Maybe it's The Rock. Maybe it's something because, while The Rock was talking about that he didn't feel the need to come back now and all that kind of stuff, I still think he might be involved at the very end. So maybe Rock runs down, going to be beating the snot out of the guy that is in there taking Cena on, and Cena does the Darth Vader. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you need to watch Star Wars, especially Return of the Jedi. And Cena's going to stand there and watch. And then all of a sudden, Cena's going to pull off the thing where Darth Vader saw enough, and he grabbed the Emperor and threw the Emperor down the shaft and killed him. And I think that that's what's going to happen. I think Cena's going to turn back that way. But the question is who? I don't know, but I don't think it's going to be Cody Rhodes. That's all I'm going to say. So I'm gonna no sell this. I think that it's going to be someone other than Cody Rhodes that is going to beat John Cena for the title. So I'm no selling it. Jeff, what you got?
Man, so Joe, you're at a no sell.
Yeah, it's Cody Rhodes should be the one to defeat John Cena. Yeah, I'm no selling it.
Okay. So I'm going to be at a no sell too. But because I want something very different. what I want for Cody Rhodes is I want Cody Rhodes to eventually beat Jey Uso
Oh,
for the
okay.
world heavyweight title. There are reasons, um, but yeah, I would like for it to be someone different, mostly because of what Derek was saying. Because honestly, I'm kind of done with this whole Rock thing. If it happens again, cool. If it doesn't, cool. I'm not really. After his interview on Pat McAfee's show, the clips that I caught, it was just kind of like, okay, I wish I hadn't heard that and just kept it moving. Now I'm done with it. So I want to see this whole thing kind of go in a different direction. So that's why I'm at a no sell.
Okay. All right. Let's see what everybody's got in the chat here. I've got to go quite a ways back, but see you, John.
And good night, James. James
Good night,
hung
James.
out with it's 3 o'clock in the morning
Yeah,
over there. So
James stuck it out as long as he could. Thanks, James. We'll see you Thursday. Damien says sell. John G says sell. Barry Monkey says sell. Cody needs to finish it. Chad Schrader says sell. Andrew Stevens says sell. Book Cena to retire, or book Cody to retire Cena and go heel doing so. Okay, I wouldn't mind that. Let the darkness spread to Cody in order for him to take. I mean, that's what he wanted, right? Cena wanted him to turn dark to be able to beat him. Okay, a lot of sense to that. Let Jacob Fatu win Money in the Bank at the final hour after Cena wins. Should be his last match. Jacob cashes in. That's something I got to consider. The Money in the Bank winner. You do always have to consider that. I'm done with the Rock stuff. I was just thinking of the Rock, Derek, only because he started this whole thing with Cena, the heel turn, and he's kind of, to me, would remind me of the character of the Emperor in Star Wars. He's kind of over everything and overseeing it, and he's the one who started the whole thing like they did with Darth Vader. It reminds me very much of that, and I know that wrestling takes a lot from movies, especially movies like that are very popular. So that's why I went that way. I'm not saying I want to see him back all the time. I think that's just the best reason why I went that way. Cody beats him and Cena goes Sergeant Slaughter. I want my country back mode, but I also think he should be an up-and-coming star. Better question. Are fans done with The Rock? And now a young Jedi, you will die. Father, please. Palpatine down the chute. Yes. Great scene. I agree. No sell. I think Joe Hendry will be the one to defeat John Cena. Do it in January when Joe Hendry's contract is up. Wow. Okay. I would like to change my mind on no sell. It's been a long day. My nephew turned 13. Well, happy birthday to your nephew, Chad. Okay. I think I'd love to see it. I agree with you, but I think he ruined it. All right. So there you go. That's our first topic.
yeah.
We're through that. We're going on to topic number 2. This is going to be a fun one.
Woo! All right. This one's gonna be. I hope people have fun with it because I think it's fun to think about. So, another wrestler should have been the third man in the OG NWO, not Hulk Hogan. Sell or no sell? This is. I feel like this is there's a lot of room for debate here.
Jeff, this would change the history of pro wrestling if you think about it.
As it is today, yes, absolutely.
This really would change the history of pro wrestling. Wow. I mean, Bret Hart. Good one right off the bat. John Cena, yeah. John G says. I mean, you're going to get a lot of these. I mean,
was Joe, thinking, you know the original plan for the third man, right?
I probably do, but I'm sure I forgot. Remind me.
It was Sting.
That's what I was going to say. Because okay. Yeah, I was going to, yeah.
That was the original plan from reports and stories.
Mine's biased, but you know who I'm going to pick here? it's very biased because I always say he's one of my favorite wrestlers of all time, and I think he would have fit perfectly in it. He ended up being a part of the whole storyline. I would have gone if they could have gotten him sooner with Piper. I think Roddy Piper would have been perfect for the NWO. Perfect. He was the biggest. He was one of the biggest heels ever to be in the ring. And with those two and invading that show, you could totally see him being the mastermind behind it. Roddy Piper, I think, would have been perfect. Macho Man, I think, would have been a good one too. Again, he came a little bit later down the road, but if they could have grabbed somebody else, I could see either one of them if they want to go that direction. Big Dan's a little outside the box. Shawn Michaels. If they could have signed Shawn Michaels and brought him over. Okay. All right.
Joe, so do you let me phrase it this way. Let's take out what we know today and how people feel about Hulk Hogan today.
Yeah, you got to kind of put your feelings aside a little bit
you
here.
have to. So I think you have to take that out of it, and you have to think about the time and what his turning heel, what that meant for the business at the time.
Right.
And I think the question almost becomes, is there another wrestler who could have had or made the same impact by turning heel from being a babyface forever and change wrestling in a similar way to what he did?
Man. Yeah, that's tough because who was a bigger or what even was up there on that ladder with Hogan at the time? I mean, Hogan back in the day in that time was one of the biggest baby faces you'd ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
So the people that are saying Shawn Michaels, Shawn was kind of a tweener, right? Shawn was always Shawn had his ups and downs. He was kind of cocky and stuff like that. So yeah, if you're thinking of, man, who would have been a shocking one that would have had the impact that Hogan had changing? Yeah, because you're right. The people I've been mentioning were heels anyway.
Right.
So it really wouldn't have been much of a difference. Wow, that's now I got to really go back and I got to try to think of some people like who were the big, maybe a Stone Cold Steve Austin. But again, he's kind of a tweener too. Like he was always, he's babyface more, but he was babyface because he was against the establishment, which I guess kind of would have fit the NWO because they were against the establishment. But going into that situation though, where Hogan was, I don't know if that would have fit because Stone Cold was just so good going up against Vince. Would you have had that same thing going up against Bischoff?
Right.
Probably not. Right? Probably not. Man, this is a tough one.
It's a tough one to think about because
it really is.
Because I think, and Clown's making the point here for me that I was about to make. But if you look at it from a WCW perspective, and this is where, even in thinking about this question, I had to kind of put certain feelings to the side.
Yeah.
If I look at it from a WCW perspective, Sting would be my choice because him turning heel would have been such a dagger to the hearts of WCW fans.
It's true. Yeah.
But I don't know that if it had been Sting, it would have made the ripple effects through the entirety of professional wrestling like it did with Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
So that's why for me, I would say no sell, because I don't think it has the same impact across the entirety of wrestling with anyone else, given what Hogan did from when he started to the moment that we found out that he was the third man and he dropped the leg on Macho Man. Up until that point, we had no reason to think that he would ever turn heel. And especially with two dudes that at the time people were convinced that they were still employed by WWE. I don't think it has the same impact with anyone else.
Yeah. Yeah. I would have to agree. I would have to agree. Yeah, I would probably have to no sell it too, because you're right. I think that yeah, I mean you make a great argument, because it would have been to people that were watching WCW, Sting would have been the biggest heel turn there, the
Ever
biggest.
for me, like for
Yeah,
me
yeah,
as a WCW fan,
yeah,
if it had been Sting, I would have been devastated.
yeah, yeah,
Just devastated, because I was the one doing the stinger splash on people and doing,
yeah.
the scorpion deathlock and all those different things. I painted my face one time like Sting, or at least I tried to. It was a horrible job. Thank God my mom didn't take pictures of that. But I mean, he was my guy. If it had been Sting for a WCW fan, it would have just ripped your heart out. But again, that's as a WCW fan. That's not
Yeah,
as a pro wrestling. I consume every wrestling product that I can fan. That's my WCW fandom. Knowing where Hulk Hogan came from and where he now was, that sent shockwaves through the whole business, because the competition even had to acknowledge it.
yeah, yeah. They did. Yeah, that's true. I'm gonna agree. Yeah, I'm gonna agree. Yeah, you made a very compelling point. Because yeah, you're right. That would have been the WCW fans, the WCW part of it that they would have devastated. But you're right. It wouldn't have been as big a ripple through the entire world of wrestling as it became. So
Right.
yeah, I agree. Yeah, I'm gonna no sell it too. Let's see what everyone says. No sell, because Hogan was easy to not like even then. I don't have much knowledge who was in the original NWO, so I'm going to be unable to answer. It's all good. Sting was the backup if Hogan had said no, but other than it being Shawn Michaels, it wouldn't have had the shock value of Hogan's turn. I'm selling because Sean Waltman would have made more sense. Hogan made that thing. The last thing people expected was a heel Hogan. Let's see. No sell. Let me go down here a little bit further. Okay, people are writing in their ones for the next. Yeah, okay. Sting as the ultimate flag bearer, WC. That was Clown's comment. Wouldn't have been hard for me to boo Piper. Sting and Macho Man Hogan was the right guy. Sting was ready to turn again, but he wasn't 100% comfortable turning. Sting was nationally known, but not nationally known, if that makes sense. Always heard that Sting was a backup plan if Hogan didn't do it. I heard that nobody in the match knew what was going to happen until Hogan dropped the leg. I do agree. If it was Sting, I would have been hurt. Okay. All right. Get us yours, guys. We need a bunch. I think we have one so far, so we need a bunch more. So throw
Six
yours
more.
into.
I need 6 more.
All right. So throw them into the chat, guys. We need a lot more here. Get us your sell or no sell for the last part of this segment. This is the viewer write in, call in, however you want to put it. So let's get your topics in there. And then we'll spin the wheel and we'll go into our last part here.
And it can be a retro one too,
Yeah, you could.
because
Derek
that was kind of fun.
Derek said, Jeff, did you get my two?
I didn't see him, Derek. Let me
I only saw the one myself. The one that was let's see, what was the one that
okay, so ticket prices. I'm gonna ask it this way: WWE is pricing fans, and I'm gonna use that as a second one. So I need 1, 2, 3, 4 more.
Come on, guys. I know you got them. Let's go. We need 4 more. Get us to 4, and yeah, 4 more we need. Sell or no sell, doesn't matter what topic it is. Well, of course, I mean, it has to be wrestling related, but yeah, come on. We need 4 more, guys. 4 more to go. We need 4. Who's going to do it? I know we got more than 4 people in the chat. We got 23 out there at least. There might be more people watching too. So come on, let your voice be heard. Oh, our fan's done with The Rock is his second one, Jeff.
Yeah.
All right, we got Derek's.
Right, 3 more.
Come on, who's next? Who's next? Let's go. Get him out. Sell or no sell, get him out. Come on, we've never not filled the spinner, guys. Don't make tonight be the night. Don't make tonight be the night. You gotta have something that you've been having on your mind as a wrestling fan. There we go. Cena's heel turn is bigger than Hogan. Sell or no sell?
Hey, hello.
That's coming off our last one. That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, we need what do we need? 2 more, 3 more?
2 more.
2 more. Come on, you can do it. I have faith in you. Big Dan has one. Hulk Hogan versus Ric Flair would have made WrestleMania 8 legendary. Oh, he has a couple here. So would have made WrestleMania 8 legendary. WWE should have Intercontinental Tag titles. And Bayley will be in AEW. All right, pick one of those from Big Dan, and then we'll do clowns.
I'm gonna go with Bayley here.
Okay, all right, cool. Clowns got Fuego del Sol unmasking and taking out his best friend Sam Stackhouse is the best storyline on the Indies.
I'm gonna use that one for next time.
Okay.
And Jason's too. I'm gonna use both of those for next time. All right, so here we go.
There it is. We're gonna spin the wheel round and round. Spin around where it stops, nobody knows.
Oh, it actually landed on the Bayley one. So.
Oh wow. Okay.
Bayley will be in AEW by 2027, Joe.
Big Dan says Bayley is out of here. Out of here. By 2027, giving it 2 years. Okay. Well, I mean, if you go by what some of the rumors are saying out there, they're saying that things are being reported and stuff that she wasn't very happy with what happened to her being pulled from the match. So does Bayley take a turn somewhere else? The thing about Bayley is this, and here's why I'm gonna no sell it, but here's why. I've watched some videos of Bayley. I've heard some interviews with Bayley, and I believe that Bayley is going to retire sooner than some people think. Bayley has kind of been talking about it, saying that, she feels like it's coming closer and closer. She feels that she's accomplished a lot of what she wanted to in the business. And she's also been talking about where she might be interested in being a trainer, whether that be like in NXT or whether it be, something backstage or something like that. So I'm gonna say no sell to it because I have a funny feeling that Bayley is going to retire, possibly before that. So that's how I'm gonna go about it. So I'm gonna say no sell to it. So what do you think?
Okay. I'm gonna be honest. I think the draw and the reason why people think that Bayley will be in AEW is because her friend is in AEW right now.
Yeah, Sasha.
But maybe this is a hot take. I don't think her friend will be in AEW in 2027.
Ah,
So I am going to no sell it for that reason.
okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. Let's see what everybody in the chat's saying. What's up, Conrad?
All right.
Bailey's been very interested in doing things in TNA, but I say no sell. Gonna no sell it. I think she will be out of WWE by then. However, it's hard to tell whether she'll be wrestling by then. And if she is, I doubt it will be in AEW, says Damien. Okay, I think that's all we got for that one. But yeah, you can continue to put in notes and let us know. Put stuff in the chat and let us know what your answer to that one. John G saying no sell. All right. Well, we'll let you finish that up. I'll call him out as I see him. And we are going to move on to, I don't know, Jeff. It was rainy. It was ugly out. It's going to rain, I think, for the next 3 or 4 days. We're in the rainy season now in Northeast Pennsylvania. And rain it brings that, when you're out there, you get wet, brings that chill a little bit, kind of that, not a winter chill, but you still get, you get damp, musty. You get a little humid too, but sometimes the best thing to do is to just warm that up a little bit. Come in and have like a cup of, if you're into coffee or if you're into hot tea or something like that, or just maybe a hot meal or something. And time to warm it up a little. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to warm it up a little.
Yep. Burning question of the week. Here we go.
All right. This is going to be a fan favorite one, I think, too, because a lot of people are really into this.
Yeah.
Karrion Kross.
Yeah, I'm going to take this off so we can. All right, here we go. Karrion Kross seems undeniable to me. Well, us too. It feels like he's so talented, but just not used correctly. If it were up to you, how would you feature him and put him near the top?
Karrion Kross. A lot of people love this guy, man. I know a lot of you do. A lot of our listeners do. I see it on Twitter all the time. They keep trying to fit him in. They keep trying different things with him, and it just nothing seems to stick. He had the stuff going on with AJ Styles. He was trying to get in people's ears, kind of like the guy that, and it just seems like nothing they do seems to stick with this guy. And personally, Jeff and I both think a lot of him, and I'm sure all of you guys do too. I think he's excellent on the mic. I think he's a great promo guy. I mean, Bray saw it in him. Bray wanted to start his own promotion, for God's sake, with him. I personally think he's being done a disservice here. And where would I feature him? You know what, Jeff? If I want to go right smack dab at this, boom, and have it hit hard as it can, like right off the bat, I'd put him with Heyman's group. I'd have Kross and Scarlett, because we were talking about a woman being in that group. I'd have Kross and Scarlett join up with Heyman's group if I wanted them smack dab right in the middle of the action. Those guys. Now, Braun Breaker's not necessarily the guy that's going to cut promos a lot. Heyman's going to do a lot of the talking. Seth is a master of promos. You bring Kross on as another one in that group that can do that. Now all of a sudden that group is scary as hell, because Kross is kind of the deviant, the one who's going to, he's the snake one that you don't necessarily trust. So I think if you really want him in the limelight, you have him go to something like that. If you don't, I think that he needs to go back a ways to something with him and Scarlett. We know he's got his old entrance back. So have him kind of doing something similar to what he was doing in NXT. And have him, but Jeff, I think he could pay tribute to Bray, especially while the Wyatt Six are gone, And he could, Jeff, be that evil, kind of dark, kind of horror character that we've kind of been missing. We don't have that right now. The
Right.
Wyatt Six are gone. We don't have it. And I think he could fill in that nicely, especially because you've got Scarlett with you. I think there's a lot of things that they can do with that. So I think, either way, if they're not doing anything with Heyman anymore and they're leaving that be, I think Cross could be the horror character that you and I know other people tend to look for.
Yeah. Yeah. I think with a lot of folks, because, again, you think about WWE and you think about the amount of programming that they have on. And you say to yourself, well, how can this person not get time or that person not get time? And not saying that I know anything about creating television or anything like that, but it's a lot more complicated than that.
Oh, yeah.
Than we understand, I think. But what I think you have to do with someone like a Karrion Kross, who I completely agree is undeniable, is you have to create opportunities for them. How that looks can be completely up to you. Maybe one week it's just a small vignette or something on TV. Maybe another week you lean heavily into it on social media. There are so many different avenues that you can use to keep this going and promote him and give him those opportunities. It's just about finding the right ones that's going to connect the dots in the right way for fans. And if you have a question on if he has fans, listen to the pops this man receives.
Oh, man, yeah.
Look at his social media engagement.
Yep.
Look at how people are responding to him. And sometimes I think companies and WWE, AEW, TNA, I think sometimes with some wrestlers, when they become so undeniable, it's almost like a middle finger to the promotion. And the promotion's like, well, wait, that was supposed to be what we did for you, but you did that on your own and organically. So maybe we don't need to put you out front. Now, I'm not suggesting that that's what WWE is doing, but I will say that you got to give this guy opportunity. You got to put him out there because the people want it. The people are speaking. They want to see him more. They want to see him featured more prominently. So, for goodness sakes, do it. And by the way, I haven't had a chance to see his documentary yet. I am going to check it out this week. I just haven't had a chance to see it yet. But
I didn't know that was out. Where is it on?
Yeah, I think it's on YouTube.
I'll have to check it out too. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and you know what, Jeff? His shirts sold out so quick. He put those new shirts up and gone out. Yeah. So you can't say he's not a merch seller.
Right.
It's just they just can't find a place for him, and I don't understand why. Big Dan saying, I think Karrion Kross should join Heyman's faction as a cleaner mob type, aka Winston Wolf. Conrad said, I think you need to find a way to get him figured into the mix, some type of interesting storyline, and then I think he needs that match, kind of like what we had with Randy Orton and 04, that will solidify him as a main event player and a tough guy. Yeah, I like that. I would put him with the Judgment Day to make the faction darker. I think Kross would be better off stripped of a supernatural gimmick and just make him an ass kicker in the vein of Batista. Kross survived Black Friday. I think that WrestleMania week pipe bomb elevated him within the company. Kross has got to be up for the MVP of his act on the YouTube channel. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll have to check that out. Derek said it. Good shit. Cool. Yeah, I think we all agree. We all liked him. I mean, obviously Jody was a big fan of his as well. You should talk about him on Fireflies and stuff a lot. and we all know his relationship that he had with Bray.
Yeah.
So yeah, look, I'm all for it. I went out and I bought one of those. I still have it. I bought one of the T-shirts when he first started the faction that he was in most recently. The Final Testament. I have a Final Testament T-shirt. So yeah, I'm a fan, man, and I hope we see something better out of him, or better for what they're doing with him. So good stuff. Good stuff. All right, guys. We're moving on to the closing of the show. We're going to get to our favorite moments of the week. So you know how this works. 3, 2, 1. We're going to go 3. We're going to go 2. We're going to go 1. Tell us what your 3 favorite moments of this past week in wrestling are, and we'll end this whole thing on a positive note for the night to go out, as we all love pro wrestling and stuff like that. And we try to find the positives in it. And even though it was a little bit of a bleak kind of week out there, but we'll try to find some positives in all this, and we'll end the show with that. So, Jeff, what is your number 3?
Man, my number 3 moment of the week, I think it's going to have to be the match between Moose and Zachary Wentz. That was such a phenomenal match on just an episode. I mean, and I get it, it's the episode immediately after a pay-per-view, but that was a heck of a match to not be on a pay-per-view. So that's my number 3.
Okay. For me, my number 3 was the beatdown of Sami Zayn. Man, look, I kind of, it was one of those things where you kind of saw it coming. You knew it, but I didn't see them going like that brutal. They really showed how brutal that faction is going to get and going to be. And no matter how much the referee's begging Paul Heyman to stop it, and Paul just stood there like, nope, I'm not stopping this. You really saw how brutal that faction is going to be. And wow, that was just a hell of a moment. And yeah, I thought that was just fantastic. Really surprised me. Not that I didn't see it coming, but the way that they did it, I thought was very good, and it just made that faction all that much more dangerous. So, all right, let's see what we got for 3s. We got Clown saying the Cross documentary. We got Masha versus Tessa, says Swag Fam. The unveiling of the TNA International title, says Bonus Baby. Masha and Tessa, said John G. Indy Hartwell at Rebellion, says Damien. The Stephanie's Place episode where she hung out with the Bloodline. Great interview and showed a different side of Jacob Fatu. Outside the ring, he's a pussycat and a cool dude. Brandon says my number 3 is the likely start of the D'Angelo Stacks feud. Okay. What else we got, guys? I know we got some other people that are out there still in the chat. Let us know your number 3 is Indy crossing the line at TNA Rebellion. Love it. Love it. Absolutely love it. Awesome. Wait for see if we got a couple more, and then we'll go on to our number 2s. Anybody else? Number 3s. Going once. Going twice. All right. We're going to move to number 2. Move to number 2. Jeff.
All right.
What do you got? What's your number 2? Oh, we got Conrad. Fuego del Sol becomes KJ Orso. Sorry. Got the late one there from Conrad.
There you go.
All right.
My number 2 was actually Andrew's number 3. Indy crossing the line, officially becoming a member of the TNA roster, and I believe she's going to have an opportunity to do quite well in TNA. So that's my number 2. I'm looking forward to that.
Okay. All right. My number 2 is I am going to go, and this is going to be kind of out of left field a little bit, but I'm going to go with the way the character of Naomi is developing. I know, she kind of in her past times in WWE was kind of a little bit forgotten. We mentioned that when she came over to TNA and won the women's title and had a great run there. But I like what they're doing with her right now. I like what she's doing with the character. I think finally we may have gotten the perfect character for her. I love the disgusted look on her face now, like she's full blown heel, and I love it. I think it's a great thing for her. We know we're going to get that. We might get more with her and Jade. We might get more, just a whole bunch of different stuff happening here. But I like it. I like the fact that we've got a different side of Naomi that we're seeing. A lot of people didn't really know what they were going to do with her. Was she just going to kind of get wasted again and not used properly? But I really like what they're doing with Naomi. So very, very happy to see that. All right, number 2, we got Moose versus Wentz. Indy Hartwell and Alicia Fox crossing the line, says Swag Fan. Number 2, Indy crossed the line at TNA Rebellion. Number 2, the 8-man tag team match on AEW Dynamite from this week. Number 2, the revelation that Randy Orton was thrilled to work with Joe Hendry, who got a major rub from that WrestleMania match. Joe Hendry seems like an all-around great guy and a future WWE star. Alec Price and Jordan Oliver and Subculture showing tag team wrestling is alive and well last night in GC Dub. Good job, Clown. I like it. Clown's always bringing up stuff with GCW, and I don't watch it, but I happen to read about that. So that's cool. Very good one. Bonus baby, since you haven't been on in a minute, I'm going back to the TLC. That's cool. Tag team title match on SmackDown. It had a fake leg. Oh my God. Yeah. How long has it been since we've seen a fake leg being thrown in from the audience? That's great. Reminded me exactly of EC Dub vibes, man. It was so good. Number 2 for me is Thursday's Impact from Indy joining TNA and Mr. Stone's appearance. Possibly a sign of battle of power with Santino. Yeah, I'm a little worried about that. Number 2, U.S. title picture on SmackDown. Good to see new guys get the mic and opportunities. I like it. Yeah, good one, Conrad. Yeah. And Andrew Stevens, I think you're going to give us your number 2. You have your number 2 there, but what is it? He's making us wait. What is your number 2, Andrew? You just put a number 2.
Or is it John Cena?
Oh, maybe it's it. You can't see this. John Andrew's going to give us a number 2, and then we're going to go on here. We're going to move on to number 1. Well, Andrew, you can fill that in. We're moving on. All right. Number 1 moment of the week of pro wrestling this past. There it is. All-Star 8-man tag match on Dynamite foreshadowing Okada versus Omega at All in Texas. All right. I love it. Jeff, what was your number 1?
My number 1, and this is me being a Seth Rollins fan, but seeing all the Seth Rollins coverage, seeing people talking about Seth, as they should, because Seth's the man, and I believe that he deserves some discussion on his place amongst the greatest of all time. I'm not saying he's on Mount Rushmore yet, but I think he's headed there. So that's my number 1.
All right. So there you go. Oh, man. My number 1. This one's tough because I had a few of them. I'm going to go with my boy. Joe Hendry and Trick Williams, man. I think that's going to be amazing. The fact that got started when it did, and then having Trick coming back and Joe over there and stuff. I think that's just going to be an amazing match. I just hope Joe is good health-wise for that, because it makes it that much better. But I just, I love what both of those guys do. And I think having them get together and clash here is just going to be an amazing thing, however long it goes or where it culminates into. But I think that's it. And I could kind of maybe even do a little 1A as well and talk about the Indy Hartwell signing, because I think that's great. There was just a lot of moments this week. I also love the Santino thing and how he's getting a little competition, a little scared now. because he's got another guy that's kind of, getting up in his grill there and trying to take his power away. So just a lot of cool things going on, but I love the thing with Joe and Trick Williams. I think that's going to be an amazing feud between the two. So that was my number one. Number one is Randy sending the message to John Cena. Yeah, that was an excellent promo. 100% excellent promo from one of the best to do it. So number one, the story Atticus Cougar is building in GCW. Baron Corbin telling a troll to piss off after saying The Rock's daughter should have been released and Seth Rollins at the NFL draft. Seth could be a solid NFL analyst. Yeah, it's always nice when you see wrestlers sticking up for other wrestlers and telling those idiots on Twitter where to go. Swackfan says the whole TNA live episode. Yeah, it was really fun. A lot of fun. Those live episodes are really good. Cena and Orton segment. Conrad says Kyle Fletcher versus Hangman Page on Dynamite. The Storm promo on the balcony on Collision. Yeah, good stuff, man. Fletcher and Hangman looks like it's going to be something to see. And Toni Storm is awesome. She's right up there with the best women. Yeah, she really is. She doesn't get enough credit, I don't think. But right up there with the top women in wrestling right now. The Orton promo from this past Friday. Indy Hartwell has crossed the line. In my pre-Gunther chokeout, Pat McAfee voice. Let's go! Spy Fence says, I agree. Joe and Trick should be really good. Yeah, I agree. All right, guys. Well, there you go. That is going to do it for this episode of Between the Ropes. Thank you all for being here and listening and checking out the show. We appreciate all of you for participating and everything as well. And all I could say is don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Drop a like on the stream tonight for us, please, before you go. It helps us out big time. And then hit that notification bell if you want to be notified about when we have future content. We will let you know what's going on for Tuesday. I know Chris wasn't feeling well last week, so we'll let you know what's going on for Fireflies on Tuesday. There has been some stuff, so there'll be some things to talk about. We had that little board that went a little nuts and spelled Alexa and all that kind of stuff. So there are some teases coming on for the Wyatt 6, so that's cool. We'll let you know what we're doing for that for Tuesday. And then, of course, we will return on Thursday for another episode of our TNA Watch Along. So, all right, guys, that's going to do it for all of us, for Jeff and myself. Have a great rest of your night, a great rest of your end of the weekend here. Please stay safe. Be kind to one another always. And hopefully we will see you all on the next episode of The Insiders. Have a great night, guys, and we'll talk to you soon.